For the last 40 years, the global economy operated on a single, unspoken rule: find the cheapest place on Earth and build there. Corporations broke their supply chains apart, scattering manufacturing across different continents. Labor costs dropped, corporate profit margins widened, and consumers got accustomed to store shelves full of highly affordable goods. To keep those prices down, entire megacities were engineered to optimize production. Millions of workers and thousands of factories were synchronized into a tightly coordinated global assembly line. This global machine appeared unstoppable. Years of uninterrupted operation gave the impression that the system could absorb any shock, leaving its deeper vulnerabilities entirely out of sight. The math behind this system dictates a brutal trade-off. When you optimize purely for speed and lowest cost, you eliminate your safety buffers. Every backup supplier was cut for profit. The global economy was walking a tightrope without a net. Then a physical disruption hit, and logistics networks seized up almost overnight. Massive cargo ports turned into parking lots, entirely unable to move goods inland. Without a constant flow of arriving parts, assembly lines thousands of miles away ground to a halt. Goods we expected to be available simply disappeared. The fallout revealed an uncomfortable truth about modern trade. A hyper-connected system stripped of its backups is a deeply vulnerable system. At the center of that breakdown was a single microscopic choke point. The entire manufacturing apparatus of the 21st century rests heavily on semiconductors. We rarely see them, but they dictate how we live. The dashboard of a modern car requires hundreds of individual chips to regulate everything from the engine timing to the brakes. Medical monitors and commercial aircraft rely on thousands more. When the shortages hit, the immediate question was obvious. With demand spiking, why couldn't suppliers just spin up new factories and print more chips? The answer involves a combination of massive capital and atomic-scale precision. A single facility costs tens of billions of dollars. Within its walls, robotic systems must operate in air filtered to be thousands of times cleaner than a hospital operating room. Only a handful of companies on Earth possess the engineering expertise to etch billions of transistors onto a single piece of silicon. The financial barriers are so high that competitors are simply locked out. In our rush to make production as lean as possible, we accidentally centralized the most critical component of the digital age. We handed control of the global economy to a very small group of highly specialized facilities. Now, a massive new demand multiplier is hitting that exact same bottleneck. Artificial intelligence is creating an insatiable appetite for computing power. While AI models feel like abstract software living in the cloud, they are strictly bound by physical hardware. Training a large language model requires giant data centers stacked with tens of thousands of advanced processing units running continuously. Because processing power dictates AI capabilities, these chips are no longer treated as commercial electronics, they are strategic assets. Consequently, world leaders are intervening. Governments are pouring billions of dollars in subsidies into the private sector, desperate to move semiconductor manufacturing back within their own borders. The technological arms race has a hard physical limit. Securing a steady supply of these advanced processors is the absolute prerequisite for any nation trying to maintain its influence in the modern era. This realization is forcing a massive structural correction. The 50-year era of maximizing efficiency at all costs is actively being dismantled. The new corporate mandate is resilience. Businesses are deliberately building parallel networks, contracting backup suppliers, and duplicating factories across regions. This duplication is expensive. Redundant facilities mean higher overhead and higher prices for consumers, buying a margin of safety against the next global disruption. But the underlying math has changed. A supply chain that guarantees delivery during a crisis generates far more consistent revenue than a cheaper system that collapses under pressure. For the markets, this physical rewiring represents a massive reallocation of capital. The institutions managing global wealth are recalculating exactly where long-term value sits. While retail investors chase the consumer brands selling finished smartphones or the software companies launching flashy new AI applications, smart capital is looking one layer down. The most robust returns are forming in the hidden layers. It's the companies manufacturing the highly specialized factory equipment, and the chemical suppliers for clean rooms, and the industrial logistics firms required to actually build these new redundant supply lines. Progress is rarely driven by the finished products on the shelf. The future of economic growth is dictated by the systems underneath. To navigate what comes next, you must look past the visible machinery and focus on the tiny pieces of infrastructure holding it all together.